Hey, everybody, welcome to the Soccer Sharps, a soccer betting podcast. Jordan, we finish up the Champions League and we head back to domestic league action. It never stops over here, but we've got tons of plays. The soccer betting never stops. Here we go.
Martial, Herrera, Ibrahimovic! Oh my God, an insane goal! I've just seen the most insane goal I have ever seen on a football pitch! Balotelli, Aguero!
Well, it was an interesting Champions League week, entertaining to say the least. We saw some absolute flameouts like Tottenham Hotspur. Can't wait to get to them because we'll be covering them. Facing off against Liverpool, another Champions League loser. All of the Premier League teams lost except for Arsenal, who lucked out with a penalty in stoppage time to secure a draw. But Jord, what do you take away from the Champions League week with a really tough turnaround for some of these teams coming back to domestic league action?
Yeah, Deb. Well, I love a good domestic, so I'm happy to be locking in on these leagues here for the weekend. But what do I take away from those first legs? A lot to do for these second leg home teams. A lot to do, in particular for the Premier League teams who were all the rage with just one round to go and before, talking about how incredible the EPL is in European competition. That did not hold for this round. So a lot of work to do for those teams. Can they do that work? I don't know. Most of them trailing by 3 goals.
Yeah, I mean, the Premier League doesn't do them any favors, right? It's like they are constantly playing matches. A lot of these teams, Bayern, PSG, they got to play their matches on Friday last week. So they have that extra day's rest. It could be really helpful, not to mention just teams like the German league just getting time off during the winter as opposed to the Premier League never stops.
Yeah, but that's always been the case. Come on. They're all playing tons of soccer.
Yeah, you're right. I'm trying to make excuses
than anyone. Yeah, it's interesting. If we still had away goals, there could be some interesting ones like Chelsea and PSG, but we don't have away goals. So, but we'll get to all that on Monday night, Dev. Let's crack a domestic, huh?
That's right. Let's crack a domestic. Jordan, it's going to start in the Premier League, where we're taking a look at Chelsea hosting Newcastle United. This one sees Chelsea as home favorites, 3/4 of a goal. Total is set at 3.25. Jordan, this one, both teams to score, yes, -200. We think the bookies think this starts at 1-1. Both of these teams playing in that midweek. Chelsea playing on Wednesday and turning around for Saturday. Difficult turnaround for them, but they are at home. So what do you think about this matchup? Newcastle might have played the best out of the EPL teams in the midweek.
Yeah, I think you could say they did play the best, although Chelsea played pretty well for the majority of their match, I would say. A couple of ridiculous errors and not really taking advantage when they were on top. And PSG just being clinical with their finishing, which they aren't always. It's cost me a few bets this season. But they were hot. They were putting away their chances. But I do think Chelsea played pretty well on the whole, but I think you're right. Newcastle probably put in the best performance of the round in terms of the English teams. And, they're still in the tie. And I know a lot of people talked about how, if they just hadn't conceded that late penalty, they'd really be happy about the result they got, taking a 1-0 lead to the Camp Nou. But is it that much different? Right? I mean, even game state, Barca are going to score at home. So what if they scored in the first 5 minutes at home and then it's 1-1 already again anyway? So I don't know that it's that big of a deal that they're still going into that at an even game state. So I think they'll very much be looking ahead to that match because really, look, they can't go down. They're probably not going to get Europe. I mean, I guess they could get like a Conference League or Europa League place. It's now looking like maybe there won't be 5 Champions League spots for the Premier League. So that's interesting too. But yeah, I think Newcastle's full focus will be on that match. Chelsea, they're pretty much done in that tie now, I would think, with a 3-goal deficit. But obviously, it's a home game in the second leg. They're going to have some focus on that. They'll give it a go. But they have to turn their attentions quickly to this league and trying to get top 4 again. They're very much in the race. They have to be targeting 3 points here against a Newcastle team who are not consistent, to be polite, not consistent on the road. I was going to say just not good on the road, but they're up and down, really. So I think we probably see some rotation from Newcastle. Look, the market has both teams to score, yes, minus 200. I think that's where any bet in this match should start. I don't see either team keeping the other out here. So this starts at 1-1 for me. I looked at that draw, Dev, plus 320, massive price there. Could see a 1-1 or a 2-2 or something like that. But I decided to do a little more hand wringing because I think this could be tight with one eye on these second legs of the Champions League. So I did a little classic hand wringer here. Both teams to score, yes, and tacking on under 4.5 goals to get me some plus money there, plus 115. Just fading that there will be 5 goals in the match. But Chelsea having a real hard time keeping clean sheets. So maybe I'll be regretting that play in the end, but I feel fairly confident that we maybe get a 2-1 either way, 1-1, 2-2. I get a lot of favorable score lines on my side. So both teams to score an under 4.5 plus 115.
Yeah, it's brave of you, Jordan. I mean, we've seen Chelsea have a game with 7 goals, 6 goals, 5 goals in their last 3 across all comps. I mean, because both teams are scoring in all of their games in 10 straight. In 5 straight for Chelsea. Both teams have scored in 10 straight for Newcastle. So I can see why the bookies are making that minus 200. Could absolutely see both teams score here, but I think you laid out the case for Chelsea in this one. They played pretty well against PSG. If not for some errors from the goalkeeper, maybe they don't just give a goal away early on. Maybe it's a little bit better in terms of the score line. And then Newcastle, they don't have a lot to play for here. Maybe you said they could maybe sneak up into those European spots. Chelsea need all the wins they can get, right? They're 3 points off it right now behind Villa and Manchester United. So need the 3 points here. And I thought getting Chelsea on the money line at minus 125 was like tremendous value because they've looked really good when they're not just complete head cases, when they're not just like getting red carded or doing stupid things. I mean, Pedro Neto's lucky he didn't get sent off for shoving the ball boy in Paris, which was kind of funny because the kid, whoever the ball boy was, just incredible acting, knew what he was doing. I was like, wow, he must be in the academy squad or something because you could put him out there. It'd be great, clutching his face when nothing even came close to it. Just classic soccer acting. Love to see it. But yeah, Jordan, Newcastle, you said inconsistent on the road. I'll take it further. They've been pretty bad outright. Low XG tallies on the road. They're much better at St. James's Park. Both these teams in the sandwich spot, but I just do think Chelsea will have a little bit too much, so I'm happy to take that Chelsea money line minus 125.
Fair enough, Deb. Fair enough. So I guess we're rooting for a 2-1 Chelsea victory for the podcast.
Yeah, that works. We'll take it. You cut out there for a second, but you're back now. But let's move on because we've got more matchups, Jordan. It's your West Ham United taking on Manchester City. West Ham in this one, home dogs of 3/4 of a goal. The total set at a flat 3. What happened to Manchester City, Jordan? They traveled to Bernabeu. Did they even show up? They just got destroyed in the first half, 3-0. Nothing seemed to go right for them. West Ham getting a week off to just rub their hands together, and Nuno just licking his lips, looking at that low block that Real Madrid pulled out and the counter they were able to pull off against City. Because I think the game plan is going to be same for West Ham. But what do you think about this matchup, Jordan, with everything to play for here for West Ham?
Yeah, absolutely everything to play for, and probably a free hit for West Ham, truth be told, in the relegation scrap. Whether or not they stay up or go down is not going to be determined by games against Man City. However, any point or 3 points that's unexpected is just a nice bonus, of course. So they will be locked in with this. They continue to be in good form. Just made it to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup last time we saw them, winning on penalties against Brentford. So morale booster for the team. The team is very harmonious right now, you could say, all locked in good form. In fact, if you look at the form tables over the last 10 weeks, despite West Ham literally being in 18th in the literal table, they actually find themselves in 9th in the form table over the last 9 weeks, and also 9th over the last 5 weeks, depending how you want to look at it. And in the last 10 weeks, find themselves with only one win fewer than Man City. So interesting stuff here. City, as you mentioned, getting crushed in Spain, losing 3-0. And before that, we saw them at home drawing 2-2 with Nottingham Forest. So there's a world where West Ham can get something from this, playing with freedom, not expecting to win. So just, as I said, a free hit, going for it here, hoping they can get something from it. Man City having to have one eye on this potential comeback they're going to try to do next week at home against Real Madrid. So that's all the pro West Ham I can give you. The negative comes from the fact that Man City have to win this match, right? They're 7 points back in the title race. They lose this, or they even draw this, and Arsenal pick up points again. It's all but over, honestly. I know they play each other, Arsenal and City, but that's a tall order to overcome that amount of points. And the historicals are just not great reading, Dev. 17 losses for West Ham in their last 19 meetings with Man City. So as a Hammers supporter myself, I can tell you, we just don't get those results against the big teams like Forest do, right? We don't get the 2-2 at the Etihad. So most likely City win this game, but my hope is that West Ham can keep it competitive and keep it close and maybe, just maybe nick something. So I'm going to take that handicap on my Hammers here, Dev, that plus 0.75, and I'm going to move it to a full goal, +1. Just hope that if they do lose, it is only by 1. And hell, I'll be over the moon if they get a point or even 3 here. So the +1, a little juicy, -135 was the best price I found. And I think that's fair enough, getting the full push possibility if they lose the game by 1.
Yeah, it seems fairly likely that they would only lose by 1. Manchester City have not won an EPL game on the road by 2 goals since December. So that's a number of matches where they just haven't been convincing away from home. They can win a lot of games, but it seems to only be by 1. So I'm happy to take the handicap just where it's lined. And this should be where everybody fades this right away once you see that we're both on different versions of this. I'm going to take the 3/4 at even money. I looked long and hard at that team total. West Ham team total over 1.5 +175. I really wanted to take it, but I feel like this could be a pretty low scoring match. This feels like it could be an unders game to me, honestly, because West Ham just saw the script from Real Madrid, and like, yes, they have Valverde was playing out of his mind. He scores a first half hat trick. So they have like a level of quality over there, obviously, that's different, but if you can stifle City in their attack, they don't have the basically Rodri playing at his Ballon d'Or levels anymore. He seems old, and he looks really annoyed when he falls down. I want you to watch this if you watch the game. When he gets tackled or he gets tripped or like falls, he looks so upset. And I'm just like, I wonder if he's just tired of getting knocked over all the time.
Well, I think he enjoyed just having all that time off when he was injured. I don't know if you saw the recent news headlines that he's been spying on his neighbors with his drone. They complained to police that like Rodri's just out on his balcony flying drones into his neighbors' yards and like looking at their stuff. It's so weird. He just wants to be back home doing that, I think.
Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, why would you want to be playing soccer when you could be spying through a remote device?
And imagine what people, if you were just getting spied on, you're like, it's Rodri. Like, Rodri? Yeah. Rodri, Ballon d'Or winning Rodri. He's fucking got his drone out and he's looking at us again.
He's trying to make sure they're not going to spring on the counter against
The
him,
complaint, the complaint, I guess that was lodged said like, my wife feels very uncomfortable. Like that was one of the lines in it. It's so hilarious.
Yeah, naturally. I mean, that is very strange behavior, Rodri. And look, they're going to need the drones out there to slow down this West Ham side who has been playing really well. But yeah, we're both on the handicap, different prices. We'll see how that goes for us. The chat, if you guys are listening, watching live, we do have Bob DeVita in the chat who jumps in, and this is about the last game. We missed it. He said Chelsea have not lost to Newcastle at home since May of 2012. Chelsea on the money line with both teams to score plus 190. Like where your head's at, Bob. Good plus
as
money.
We said, the both teams to score is where any bet starts in that game. For my money, just you look at the data for the two teams, the BTTS is a runner always. I should mention one more thing about this match we have on the screen here, the West Ham match. West Ham's most informed player in recent weeks, certainly in the 10 weeks that I referenced in the form table, Crescencio Somerville. Major doubt for this match. In fact, almost certain to miss it. He did get injured in that aforementioned FA Cup match against Brentford. So that is a blow.
That is huge blow. It's his potential return April. Okay, well, that's not good for our bets, but we made the plays. We stick with them. All right, Jordan, let's move on. We got more EPL action. This time it's Liverpool hosting Tottenham Hotspur. This one sees Liverpool as home favorites of a goal and a half, minus 1.5. The total is set at 3.25. Jordan, where do we begin? We'll start with Liverpool because it's a little bit simpler. They went to Galatasaray in the midweek, lost 1-0, failed to really create much. It's going to be very interesting for these set-piece heavy Premier League teams now playing in Europe when we see the referees are going to be actually calling fouls in the box. They're not just going to let it be a Royal Rumble in there. I think almost every single Liverpool corner was ruled out for a foul in their free kicks. It was crazy. I was like, oh, well, this is a different league, obviously. On the Tottenham side of this, wow. Yeah, I don't. We don't even need to get into it. I think everybody knows. We'll get into it as we talk about the match. But what do you think about this one, Jordan, with these two Champions League sides at Anfield?
Well, Dev, I think to hear Igor Tudor speak about it, this is the priority here. The Champions League is a distraction at this point. They're focused on staying in the Premier League. That explains maybe some of his rotation, some of the players he didn't start, et cetera, et cetera. But Dev, the first thing that jumps out to me, just looking at the card here, Spurs are plus 750 on the money line in a Premier League match. Just how far they have fallen is astonishing to me in this short period of time. Plus 750 to win a game. Wild.
They have not won a game this calendar year.
That's correct.
Insane.
Yeah. So I get it. It's just shocking to me. But I don't know, Dev, that Liverpool are convincing enough to me right now to be laying 1.5 goals here. Maybe they can do it. Look, we saw Atletico win 5-2, right? But I think you can explain away some of those goals. There were some clear gaffes, errors. If those aren't made, maybe it's a 2-2. Who knows? But it just gets worse and worse for Spurs. As we know, Van de Ven can't play in this match because he's suspended due to a red card. And then Paulinho and Romero crash into each other and get concussed, and they're in concussion protocol, so they're probably not available either. Tudor's still working out the best formation anyway. It's just so hard to see Spurs getting anything from any match, let alone something at Anfield. The one thing that they can maybe get some hope from is that Liverpool do have to focus on getting that tie turned around against Galatasaray. Liverpool are home for that one, and they're home for this one, so that will be helpful to them. But maybe Spurs can catch them cold. I don't know. But because of all the uncertainty with both teams right now, Dev, I decided to leave this alone.
Yeah, that's probably wise, Jordan, but I wanted to bet on it and bring it in because is Igor Tudor the worst coaching hire like in Premier League history.
Well, he could
I'm
be.
I don't
Ange
know
at Nottingham
enough of
Forest, I think, is currently one of the runners. Most
Ange,
recently
big Ange Pascal. Oh well,
at Forest, not at Spurs.
at Forest. Yeah, this guy is so bad. He's done nothing to solidify the team. The team was discordant from the Thomas Frank era, right? It was like, oh, the players aren't happy, like he's not warm enough with them or whatever bullshit they have. So then you bring in the Hod man, right? The badass Igor Tudor has never coached a Premier League match before, or a Premier League team, comes in, gets wrecked by Arsenal the first game. Are they playing a back three? Are they playing a back four? What are they doing? Van de Ven gets red carded. They immediately concede 3 goals in that Crystal Palace match. They had to win. He comes out in this one, plays a kid who's 23-year-old in goal, giving him his Champions League debut in a knockout tie at the Metropolitano. He was signed last January. The last game that he played competitively was this is Kinski, the goalkeeper, was in October for the EFL Cup. They got dumped out of that. Hasn't played since October. And you give him his first Champions League start against Atletico Madrid on the road. And yeah, he made a couple errors, and then you subbed him out. They destroyed an asset. So now the guy, he's gone beyond being a bad coach. He's making bad choices tactically and with lineups and can't instill discipline. He's now ruining players. So for me, he's like one of the worst hires I've ever seen. So all that being said, you can't bet on Spurs, but what you can do is maybe get Spurs to like score a goal, because that's one thing they have been able to do. They've been able to go forward, get goals. We saw that, like, yeah, Richarlison and Solanke can be dangerous up top, Solanke especially. And we saw that against Atletico. They got on the board, and they've scored in almost all the games that they've been in since Igor Tudor took over. So I've got both teams to score here. It's minus 134, and I tacked on Liverpool double chance because I just cannot see Liverpool losing this game. I just find it so hard to believe they could lose it. Now, look, Spurs will win something at some point, but I don't know. It's just so weird. How has he not been fired? How did you not sack Tudor after that game?
Well, I don't know, Dev. I really don't know. Maybe the board is in agreement that we don't care about the Champions League. We're writing it off. This is the focus.
Well, yeah, you can't care about it now because you're down 3 goals and you got to go home where the environment's going to be so toxic that nobody's going to want to play. That's going to be horrible.
Yeah, we shall see. And I'm loving it as a West Ham fan. More misery. Yeah. More misery.
I think it's great. I want to see them relegated. I think it would be incredible for the game. I've talked about it enough on this podcast. So, look, for me, it's both teams to score, yes, and Liverpool double chance. Comes in at minus 110. Very playable price there.
Up the Reds. Up the Reds. Let's get it done.
Come on. The Reds. Let's move on, Jordan, over to La Liga. We're taking a look at Barcelona hosting Sevilla. This one sees Barcelona as big home favorites here, minus a goal in 3/4. The total set at 3.5. Jordan, Barcelona, they're holding on to the Liga title. They can't afford to take any games off. And they've got another tough tie with Newcastle, but that one also at home next week. So what do you think about this matchup? Hosting Seville, who might be heading for the drop zone if they're not careful here.
Yeah, Sevilla can continue to be overwhelming and disappointing in La Liga. Obviously a team with rich history in the league and a massive fan base. So, yeah, disappointment for their supporters. But, you know, the place that this bet starts for me, Dev, it's Barcelona obviously have that look ahead, but they can't really take any Liga games off because they don't want to let Madrid into this title race or let them overtake them, anything like that. And Sevilla can be tricky customers on their day. They are often outperforming their XG, but they typically score in every match. It's pretty interesting. So that both teams to score there at minus 150 is intriguing to me, and it's where I started my bet with this one. The worry for me about it is, of course, that Barcelona, maybe some people don't realize this, but have the most clean sheets in La Liga with 11. And it is surprising. And they've kept quite a few in recent weeks in the league. I believe 3 of their last 5 La Liga matches, They have kept clean sheets. But Dev, Sevilla, they just find a way to score goals. Okay. And particularly when they play against this Barcelona team. And the fact that Barcelona do have one eye on this massive match against Newcastle, where they do have to be wary. I know they're at home. I know it's an even game state, but Newcastle are a problem. They kept springing that high line, Dev. We saw it. I was kicking myself for not taking the Newcastle team total offsides as my official play for that match because I went with goals instead. Thought it was going to be goal heavy. It was one of the least goal heavy of all the matches of that round.
Shocking. Shocking.
Yeah.
They had their chances. God.
Yeah, absolutely. But boy, were the offsides there. That was available. Newcastle caught offside 6 times. It was right there for us. But anyway, yeah, so they'll have their hands full still. So they do have to keep an eye on that. I think they should win this game and make pretty light work of the Sevilla side, but I do think Sevilla find the net. I want to give you some actual stats about that. Both teams have scored in 7 of the last 8 meetings for Sevilla. Obviously, I mentioned that Barcelona had been keeping clean sheets. However, not when they face Sevilla. They have not kept a clean sheet in 4, in fact. And we've seen some pretty entertaining games. 4-1 to Sevilla was how it went in Seville earlier this season in the league. They crushed Barcelona. That was an interesting one. We had the exact same score the previous game in Seville, except it was reversed, 4-1 to Barcelona. It's typically a Barcelona win, but somehow Sevilla get on the score sheet. So I'm taking that both teams to score, Dev, but I want to make it a little bit better than minus 150. So I'm doing a tack on, and I'm tacking on a massive number here, under 6.5 goals, just fading that this one will escalate to 7 goals. I think with Barcelona needing to keep an eye on the next match, they're not going to go too crazy. I don't think we're going to get a 7-goal thriller. It could happen, I suppose, but I'll take my chances. Both teams to score and under 6.5 goals. Dev comes in at minus 125.
Nice, Jordan. Yeah, I stayed off of this one. Look, Barcelona, I don't know what to think of them in La Liga. You know, Newcastle could really do this on next week. We'll get to that one next on our next show on Monday, but they could really do it. So, got to have one eye looking at that game. They've also got a lot of injuries, so some strange lineup combinations. Too uncertain for me. I stayed away. But this is a good time to tell those of you watching live or listening later to please give us a like, a follow, a subscribe on YouTube. We just hit 300 subscribers. Thank you all so very much. That has been a milestone we've been trying to hit now for a while, so we do appreciate that. And if you guys can just, if you are on YouTube, go down there, hit the little thumbs up button for us on the video. Helps us grow this thing, and we do really appreciate all the support. So thank you guys so much.
And our boss appreciates it too. He's the one that made us start doing video. Right. We've been a podcast forever, just doing audio, forced us into video. Now you guys are subscribing. So we do appreciate that.
Yes, we do. And let's move on, George, because we've got another La Liga matchup. This time it's Real Betis against Celta de Vigo. This one sees Betis as home favorites of 1/4 goal. The total set at a flat 2.5. And Jordan, I'm going to let you take this one away.
Well, Dev, similar for me to the last game. This one maybe a little bit more hotly contested. 2 teams is sort of upper mid-table in La Liga, and both with European commitments. Both were involved in action today on Thursday, Europa League action. Betis lost at Panathinaikos, I believe.
Yeah,
and Celta Vigo with a 1-1 draw against Lyon, going down to 10 men, Celta, in that one, with their lead goal scorer, Borja Iglesias, getting sent off with a red card. Yeah, look, obviously, both teams have look-aheads, have work to do on next Thursday, but this is typically a pretty entertaining match. They can't really take matches off in the league. They are trying to qualify for Europe again. And, Dev, I don't see any reason why we don't get both teams to score in this match. It's minus 134 here. I actually think the lines are a little odd. It's lined at 2.5. I looked at the over in this. Maybe it's a little tighter because they're looking ahead, and because they're relatively close in the table. I mean, I don't know, but I do feel like if I were going to play the total, just where it's lined, I would definitely go over. Both teams to score on its own is playable. I love that for this match, but it's always tricky. We're covering a lot of teams with these look aheads here. So it's tricky when you have that. But listen to some of the data here, Dev. No clean sheets for Betis in 5 matches. No clean sheets for Celta in 3. Both teams scoring in 6 of the last 8 for Celta. You look at the head-to-heads. Both teams have scored in 6 of the last 6 meetings. We've seen over 2.5 in 5 of the last 6 head-to-head meetings. Yeah, so I mean, look at some of these score lines: 1-1, 3-2, 2-2, 2-1. When these teams meet, it's a party, and it's not just the head-to-heads, as I've already mentioned. So we were calling Celta Vigo on this show and in our Discord the both teams to score kings. People chucking them in parlays all the time in the BTTS parlays. So I think this starts there. I love that price, minus 134, but I'm going to be greedy and do another hand ringer tack on here. I'm going both teams to score in under 5.5 to bring it down to minus 110. Nicer price there, and I would be really shocked if we saw 6 goals in a match where these teams have a look ahead with work to do. So both teams to score in under 5.5, minus 110.
Nice, Jordan. I like where your head's at there. I stayed off of this one. I'm glad they're both in the Europa League still playing, though. We'll be covering that tournament as it gets to the later rounds. We didn't cover it thus far, but we do love Europa, so we'll be back for that one for sure. And Jordan, another team playing in Europa, it's Roma, traveling to Como in a Serie A. And this one sees Como as home favorites of a quarter of a goal. The total set at 2.25. The Serie A total special there, the low 2.25. Jordan, Rome playing today, and I believe they drew against, league rivals Bologna in the Europa League on a 1-1. Como not playing in the midweek, and now they get to host this Roma side. So what do you think about this matchup?
It's funny, Dev, for the viewers or listeners who aren't aware of the graphics that we have on the screen, I make these usually about 15, 20 hours before we record, sometimes sooner. Just so if you see line movement, that's usually why. But I make these, and I'm always happy when it's a Serie A card because I barely have to change anything. I just move in the different badges because the lines are always so similar. It's always your 2.25. They're lined by a quarter on the handicap. It's very interesting, and the pricing's usually the same. What we don't often see, though, both teams to score being priced at minus 110 either way. Bookies aren't sure here, and I get that, Dev, and that's why I stayed away from this game because I can't really. I love Roma. I used to love betting on Roma, but I can't get them right this year. When I take them to score, they don't. When I don't, they score 2 at least. It's weird. And Como, not entirely dissimilar. It's like Como either don't score or they score 2. And I don't know which day that's going to be. Obviously, they're more dangerous at home, but Roma have been largely in great form. I was tempted by that quarter of a goal head start for Roma there at even money. That's pretty tempting, but I just didn't know what to do with it, Dev. But you've got to play for this, so I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, I wanted to stay away from the side just because I think Roma playing in the midweek, Como having the time to rest. They're the quarter goal favorites being at home. So I guess on a neutral, the bookies are saying this is probably a pick. The reverse fixture of this saw 1-0 Roma win earlier in the season. That was in December. So not too long ago, but I do think this Como team has progressed a little bit since then, particularly in front of goal. We've seen both teams scoring in Como matches in 5 of their last 7, and both teams have scored in 4 of the last 5 Roma matches. So I wanted to go with that. At the minus 110, I just feel like it's a really good price for Como, who we know have done well going forward, but have been a little leaky at the back. Now, look, this might be a lineup checker. If Daniel Malin is not playing for Roma, I don't know if I like it. I don't know if they have goals in him besides him, but he's been incredible since he's come over from Aston Villa. So just look, both teams to score, minus 110. Fair enough. And let's move on, Jordan, over to the Bundesliga. We're taking a look at yet another Champions League clash here, but it's Bayer Leverkusen hosting Bayern Munich. This one sees Leverkusen as home dogs of a full goal +1. The total is set at 3.5. And Jord, that +1 looks awfully similar to the line they had against Arsenal in the midweek, and they came away with that one with a draw and probably should have won it if not for a kind of soft penalty. But look, now they're hosting Bayern, who eviscerated Atalanta without Harry Kane, and they've all but wrapped up the Bundesliga. Leverkusen's still fighting to get into Europe for next season, so everything to play for them. But the big boys are coming to town. What do you think about this one?
Well, Dev, ordinarily, I would be like, I don't know. I might want to stay away from this game because Bayern have the second leg of a Champions League match to think about, and obviously Leverkusen do as well. And Bayern already have the league locked up. What do they really care about? But, they got to stay sharp here. And under company, it seems like they don't really take games off no matter what the situation is. But I'll tell you when they are going to take a game off. It's next week in the Champions League. That thing's over. They're going back to the Allianz with a 5-goal lead. We've got players like Olise and Kimmich, I think, intentionally picking up yellow cards so they didn't have to play in that one, give themselves a rest. They will miss that match. So you got guys like that missing. Might as well run them out here, keep the team fresh, keep some football in them. I think we'll see a relatively strong lineup. Maybe we bring Kane back for this one. I don't know. He did make that trip. They didn't use him, but obviously he was available to travel. So maybe for this one, we see him come on. Maybe he starts. I don't know. He's chasing records. I wouldn't be surprised. And Leverkusen, they can't take the game off either, but even if they don't, they just don't have a great record against Bayern since Xabi Alonso's left. It has not gone well for them. And so I'm going to turn my attention to the free hit here, Dev. Bayern -1 at -114. I think they win the game. I think this is just target practice for them. Leverkusen have shown fight against Bayern, but again, not since Xabi Alonso left, really. It's been Bayern have covered this in every meeting with Leverkusen in all competitions since Alonso left. So no reason they don't do it again here. So I'll take that, the -1. I know they don't need to win the match, but as I've stated, it just seems like even if they're not really trying, they can win this.
Yeah, it's an interesting little wrinkle in this one, Jord. These two teams do face off in the DFB Pokal, which is the German Cup semifinal, at the end of April, so next month. And it's at Leverkusen. It's the same fixture. Maybe there's some weird gamesmanship with that. You mentioned that I think Bayern will rotate heavily against Atalanta in the midweek. Leverkusen's going to have their strongest lineup, and this will be a practice run for them. We'll say, okay, we're going to sit in this low block. We're not going to get beaten, and we're going to try to counter. It's going to be the same thing they're going to try to do against Arsenal. Maybe this is a lineup checker, but even so, Bayern's probably going to put in some kids. Leonard Carl will probably play. They're picking up some little nagging injuries, so they need to keep rotating guys. It looks like, unfortunately, Musiala is going to be out for this one. Alphonso Davies may have picked up another injury, so they need to keep those guys fresh, rotate some bodies, maybe get some more academy, like young kids in here to play this one, because ultimately 11 points lead in the Bundesliga. They're cruising right now, and they're just so devastating in front of goal. It doesn't really matter who they put out there. They're going to be scoring goals. So I've got Bayern to win the game, parlayed with over 2.5, comes in at -110. And I was very tempted to do Bayern to win and both teams to score because that's been my bread and butter the past few weeks, George. Just +160s hitting everywhere. Benevolent Bayern, giving up a goal to Atalanta in the midweek. I was terrified they were going to keep a clean sheet. And they finally got it, and it was quite a relief. So I thought about that one, but then you look at Leverkusen, Grimaldo, probably their best creative player. His crosses, his set-piece delivery is incredible. He's suspended for this one on yellow card accumulation. So without him in there, we've also seen Bayern keeping clean sheets in 4 straight meetings against Leverkusen. So I didn't want to push it with the both teams to score there. So I just went with Bayern parlay to win the game, parlayed with over 2.5. Comes in -110.
Yeah, love it, Dev. Let's get a 3-0 Bayern or a 4-1, 3-1. That'll work.
Sure. All of them. We'll take any of them. All right, Jordan, let's move on here. We've got more Bundesliga. This time it's Hoffenheim hosting Wolfsburg. This one sees Hoffenheim as home favorites of a goal and a quarter, minus 1.25. Total set at 3.25. Jordan, Hoffenheim, story of the Bundesliga season. They are currently in third, I want to say. Yes, third in the table. Now hosting this Wolfsburg side. What do you think about this one?
Well, they are third in the table. It is remarkable, but maybe a little more fraudulent. No, I shouldn't say fraudulent, but maybe a little more smoke and mirrorsy than one might expect. They do sit third, but they ranked sixth in XG, overperforming their expected points by 11.2 in the Bundesliga, obviously. But they should be worthy favorites here, Dev, because Wolfsburg just dog shit. While they have entertaining matches, they are in real trouble. They sit 17th. Just 20 points on the season, 7 points from safety. So, yeah, not great times for Wolfsburg, who I've enjoyed over recent seasons because they've been entertaining and they've made me a lot of money. And they can still make me money here despite being dog shit, Dev, because I'm going with a classic here. I'm not doing any both teams to score an under some high number. I'm going with the classic, fun one, Dev. Both teams to score an over 2.5 goals. That sounds more like it, huh? Minus 125 on that because this should obviously be a goal-heavy game. We've got some pretty wild stats to back this up. This is just a straight data play for me, Dev. Not too much analysis. No clean sheets for Hoffenheim in their last 3. No clean sheet in 19 for Wolfsburg. We've seen over 2.5 and 5 of the last 6 for Hoffenheim. Over 2.5, 5 of the last 5 for Wolfsburg. You look at the head-to-heads, over 2.5, 9 of the last 10 meetings. Both teams have scored in 8 of the last 10, and we're seeing some barn burners, Dev. It was a 3-2 when they played in Wolfsburg earlier this season. It was a 2-2 at Wolfsburg last season. Did have a weird 1-0 at Hoffenheim last season, but back to the season before that, we had a 2-2, a 3-1, a 2-1, a 3-2, a 2-1. Dev, give me both teams scoring over 2.5. What are we doing?
Yeah, I love it, George. It's the Bundesliga. It's the classic. Smart way to go. I stayed off of this one. Haven't watched enough Hoffenheim. Surprised to see even where they are in the table, so stayed away. But look, George, we got one more matchup. Once again, it's in the Bundesliga, and this one is Stuttgart hosting RB Leipzig. This one's Stuttgart. There we go. Stuttgart as quarter goal favorites at home, and the total set at 3.5. George, both teams to score, yes, minus 275 in this one. But I'll tell you, these two teams back-to-back in the standings. 4th for Stuttgart, 5th for Leipzig, right on the Champions League, Europa League border. They're tied on points. It's only goal differential, keeping Stuttgart in that 4th position right now. So everything to play for both of these teams. Stuttgart did have to play today in the Europa League. They lost at home to Porto 2-1. And Leipzig, with no European commitments, gets to rest and with all eyes on this one. So what do you think about this matchup, George, with Leipzig traveling to Stuttgart?
Well, Dev, yeah, there were a lot of people in our Discord today. I saw a lot of messages, people irritated with Stuttgart not coming through, disparaging words thrown at Stuttgart there. Must have ruined some bets. If you are new to the show, you're just checking us out, we do have a Discord server where we talk bets and give out plays with the community. It's free to join. There's a link in the description wherever you're checking out this show. But Dev, I know that these teams are sitting close to the table. I know there's all to play for. I just don't think it matters in this case. I don't think we're going to see some sort of cagey stalemate, try and protect what we have. It's just not in these teams' DNA. And I don't think even if they tried to do that, it would work out. There's just too much going against it in terms of the data, in terms of the tactics. I think this one should be entertaining, Dev. I'm just going to rattle it off like I did in the last one. Over 2.5 goals for 8 of the last 9 for Stuttgart. In 6 of the last 7 for Leipzig. We've seen both teams scoring in 6 of the last 8 for Stuttgart, in 7 of the last 8 for Leipzig. The head-to-heads don't read much differently. We've seen over 2.5 in 7 straight meetings with both teams scoring in 8 straight. Dev, this one I didn't tack on both teams to score because I think this is going to be an absolute barn burner. I think we do get to 4 goals here, and I'm just going to not complicate this and take it where it's lined. Over 3.5 goals is minus 110 on the regular market. It's minus 105 on the Asian market. So that's where I'm going. Over 3.5 is the Asian total. I'll just rattle off a few of the head-to-head score lines here. We had a 3-1 last time out in Leipzig we had a 3-2. The meeting before that in Leipzig. In the Cup, we had a 3-1. Before that, we had 2-1, so that wouldn't cash this. But before that, a 5-2, a 5-1. Dev, give me over 3.5 in this one, and what I hope will be entertaining.
Nice, Jordan. Yeah, I'm looking at player props here because I really like the two wingers for Leipzig, Jan Diomande and Antonio Nusa. Speedy wingers, clever with their feet, can create a shot, especially Diomande. He's had, 5, 6, 7 shots on target in his past 5 games, putting up multiple shots on target in a few of those. Now, you can get him to have 2 of those at plus 225. I'd rather play a shot on target that only needs 1, but it's unplayable, minus 225. So maybe you can throw it in some kind of parlay piece. But that's all I had for this one, Jordan. I wish you luck. The back-to-back in the table scares me.
Yeah,
so I'm staying off it.
I do get that, but I'm hoping the Germans won't let us down. They don't want to play that way. If you are looking for player props, David Raum is second in the Bundesliga for chances created, 18 chances created. That's an interesting one if you're looking at a scorer assist. And Dennis Undav, top scorer for Stuttgart right now with 15 goals in the league. And Christoph Baumgartner of Austria is Leipzig's top scorer right now with 10 goals, 6 assists. So if you are looking for player props, maybe look at those guys. But I don't care who's scoring them, Dev. Over 3.5.
Right on, Jordan. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys so much. Following along, listening along, sharing a little bit in the chat. We'll be back on Monday for the Champions League second legs. But, Jordan, before we get out of here, there's something we got to do.
We do indeed, Dev, because it's one thing to talk about these matches, and it's quite another to put our money where our mouths are and pay the bookie.
Chuck, I'm going to tell you something. You have that fucking 200 in my hands tomorrow. If you ain't got the 200 in my fucking hands tomorrow, I'll break every fucking bone in your body.
Well, Jordan, let's go ahead and throw up our official plays on the screen. We'll read them out for the podcast listeners. I've got Chelsea on the money line, minus 125. I've got West Ham United, plus 3/4 on the Asian handicap, minus 103. Liverpool, double chance, parlayed with both teams to score yes, minus 110. Como Roma, both teams to score yes, minus 110. And Bayern Munich on the money line with over 2.5 goals at minus 115. I hate not seeing the plus money on my numbers there, Jordan.
Yeah, Jeff, you took a little trip away from the plus money, but hey, sometimes it's not there. You don't want to force it. In the words of Green Day, you can't go forcing something if it just won't go. Chelsea, Newcastle, both teams to score in under 4.5, plus 115. West Ham United, plus 1 on the Asian handicap, minus 135. We're both pretty much in sync there. 2 units on the hammers. What could go wrong? Barcelona, Sevilla, both teams to score in under 6.5 goals is playable at minus 125. Real Betis, Celta de Vigo, both teams to score in under 5.5, minus 110. Bayern Munich, minus 1 on the Asian handicap, the free hit, we call it, minus 114. TSG Hoffenheim taking on VfL Wolfsburg, both teams to score in over 2.5 at minus 125. And finally, the last match we talked about, Stuttgart, RB Leipzig, over 3.5 on the Asian total at minus 105.
Right on, Jordan. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys so much once again. And Jordan, any last words for the people?
My usual spiel about betting responsibly. It's not worth it, guys. Don't ruin your lives over this shit. I've seen it happen, and it ain't pretty. So manage those bankrolls. Don't bet more than you can afford to lose. Bet responsibly. Enjoy yourselves. And hopefully, let's make some money.
Let's make some money.
Martial.